Good afternoon, TEDxMidAtlantic. I'm from the government, and I'm here to help you. No. I'm just kidding. I'm excited to have a conversation with you today about why we need to invest in evidence-based solutions if we want to transform the nonprofit sector, find bigger impact, and get more results. Americans are obsessed with data. If it's not liked, +1, or certified, we don't want to have anything to do with it. You know what? We won't go into a burger joint unless it has 100 positive reviews on Yelp. I, for one, won't stay in a hotel room unless it has about a 75% thumbs up on TripAdvisor. You should see the spreadsheets. When it comes to dating, my partner and I met in a bar, but people don't want that anymore. You want scientific algorithms. Actually, you go to sites like eHarmony, where they promise to connect you based on 29 dimensions of scientific compatibility. And then when it comes to physical fitness and health, how many of you have your Fitbits and your Mile Keeper? Raise your hand. We literally know every single step that we take throughout the day, and then we can auto-magically upload it to Facebook so we can shame our fat, lazy friends into how healthy we are. Maybe that's just my issue. Maybe that's just how I'm feeling. But you know what? It's so interesting. While we're obsessed with data and all these aspects of our lives, when it comes to the nonprofit sector, where we spend $300 billion with a B, dollars a year on more than 1.5 million nonprofit organizations, we don't have that same demand. More than 1.5 million nonprofit organizations, most of them who have never really given evaluation a second thought. Actually, 1 in 8 last year spent $0 on evaluation, and more than 50% don't have a theory of change or a logic model. That's Washington speak, for they've never sat down and asked, how do we know if we're even having an impact on the communities that we're trying to serve? And this isn't just a cute issue. These aren't just nice little organizations that are down the streets in our communities. These are the organizations that are trying to create ladders of opportunities for our kids. They're the organizations that we entrust to find a cure for those of our families that are ravaged with disease. It's where we send our hungry and our homeless. And let's not even talk about the colleges and universities and the churches where most of our money goes, and many of them sit behind fences and ivory towers where the communities are falling apart all around them. So, Albert Einstein used to say, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. But you know what we do in the nonprofit sector? We do the same thing over and over again, not knowing if there are any results, not collecting results, not even asking the question, what might the results be? Why does this matter? Let me tell you why. We're in Washington. You're an educated crowd. Do you know that 16 million children in the United States of America live in poverty? Think about that. 16 million children in this kind of weather don't know if they're going to have heat when they go home at night or food on the table. We continue to struggle with our high school dropout rate. And in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, our HIV/AIDS rate is higher than 5 PEPFAR African countries, including Ethiopia, Nigeria, and Rwanda. Then, when you get to gun violence, we actually see that there are 35,000 deaths a year in the United States due to gun violence. Actually, Attorney General Holder just made a statement last week where he said mass violence have tripled in recent years when it comes to mass gun violence. But while these problems seem to be getting bigger and more complex, do you know how we continue to make decisions about where we're spending our money on nonprofit organizations or where we're sending our most vulnerable populations? 3 things we usually do. 1, there's my buddy Marcus here. He is the gangbanger that's turned MIT nuclear physicist. Every nonprofit has the one story of someone that they can dig up that we all fall for. But we've got to dig deeper and find out if those results are happening across the board. Then a lot of us make our decisions based on what our friends told us. Please donate to my organization. Would we do that if she told you to invest in a stock? Do a little bit more research. And then the last challenge that we have, and this is big for those of us that are donating and those of us that are running organizations, is we get caught up on numbers served. How many coats did we give out? How much soup did we serve? How many children walked through our doors? Instead of asking how much impact was there, how many lives were changed, how many people are better off? Let me tell you why we have to start demanding a better way. If you don't know it, need and demand for nonprofit services is at an all-time high. But coming out of the Great Recession, revenue going to those organizations is flat at best. So it's simple math. If we're going to try to keep up with this increased demand, we're going to have to try to do something differently. So what could we try? Well, one, maybe we could tax the wealthy more. We've tried that in Washington. It doesn't go so well. Two, we could try to do more with less. Three, in the United States, the land of opportunity, do we have to face the fact that more and more are going to go without? No. What I think we need to do is bet on the winners. Realign all of our resources so that it's going to organizations with evidence of results. And that's exactly what we're doing at the Social Innovation Fund. It was founded by the White House in 2009, along with a handful of other government programs that are actually trying to realign government resources to go to organizations that actually have evidence that they work. Go figure. And since 2010, we at the Social Innovation Fund have moved more than $500 million, both federal and non-federal dollars, to more than 200 organizations that are testing about 86 different models that have proof that they work. What's our secret sauce? One, we're about innovation as opposed to the stale and ineffective. Two, we're about evidence-based solutions as opposed to isolated stories of success. Three, we're about scalable approaches instead of one-hit wonders. And four, we're about community partnerships instead of top-down government-driven mandates. So what does that look like for us? It looks like AIDS United, which is actually working with peer networks so people with HIV can communicate with others to keep them on treatment. It looks like Jobs for the Future and the National Fund for Workforce Solutions that is working with businesses and local-income workers to make sure they have the training that they need to take the jobs that the communities need. And it looks like the U.S. Soccer Foundation, which is doing something so simple. They're getting kids to play soccer and work with mentors, and they're actually seeing results that kids are losing weight and launching into healthy lifestyles. These are our stories, but they're a part of a growing movement of nonprofits across the country that says, if we're going to change the way our communities are looking, we're going to have to start betting on results. So let me tell you why this matters so much to me. That's my mom and me when I was about 10 years old. How about that high top? I wanted it to be like Kid, but she had a limit. I grew up in a poor black neighborhood in a small city in New England, a city of about 150,000 people. My mom and dad were single teenage parents, and for what we knew about those types of kids that are at risk and disadvantaged in the neighborhood that I grew up in, I should have been a statistic. I should have been in jail, I should have been a leech on society, or worse, I should have been dead. I wasn't, and I think about why wasn't I? Maybe it was church. After my mom became a single teenage mom, she found religion. And I became what they call a Pentecostal pew baby, which means I was there in the church every time the doors open. And any of you know Pentecostal church, that's at least a dozen times a week. So maybe it was that. Maybe it was a school busing program I was a part of, where I got to go to safe, good schools. But when I think about the reason that I'm standing on this stage today, it's because my mom sent me to the same youth center from the time that I was 8 years old, every single day. I loved this place. There were caring adults who are my mentors to today. There were leadership opportunities. It was transformative to me. But as I've gotten older and I've spent my career working in the nonprofit sector and the past 10 years working for philanthropy, I've been forced to ask myself, if that youth center was so transformative to me, why, when I look at my friends who I grew up with, are so many of them the stats that I just talked about? Why isn't there a line of little black boys and little black girls that are doing the same talk with me from my hometown? And it wasn't only my youth center. In my little city, in my tiny little neighborhood, in less than a 5-mile radius, there were at least a half dozen other organizations, all separate 501c3s, all doing the exact same work, but having diminishing results. What's my city look like now? 12th most dangerous city in the United States, a city of 150,000 in idyllic New England. Third highest teen pregnancy rate in the state. 11% unemployment, so much higher than the national average. But perhaps most shockingly, in the past 10 years, there have been 154 murders. And do you know what the victims of those murders look like? They look an awful lot like me. When you look at the data, they're young, they're boys and men of color, and they're from that exact same neighborhood that I grew up in. Young boys and men of color like me and like my brother Tori. My brother Tori, who went to that same youth center that I went to, grew up in the same neighborhood that I grew up in, but yet couldn't escape the stranglehold of the streets and found himself dead, shot and killed at 27 years old. He left behind 3 children, he left behind a grieving family, and he left behind a lifetime of potential. What's even more shocking about this story is Torrey was the last of about 10 of his friends who didn't see their 30th birthday. Many of them didn't even see their 25th. And that's my story. That's a struggle that my family has to deal with. But you read the paper, there are way too many brothers, uncles, fathers, sisters that have that same story to tell in cities and towns across this country. But you know what we keep doing? We keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And then we go to galas and we pat ourselves on the back for doing good enough or celebrating the exceptions. I have to ask you, where is the outrage? Where is the sense of urgency? Where is the demand for innovation and results? Why has it become normal in this country for a stockbroker to track a dollar down to the pennies, for a salesperson to know every step that product makes down to when it's in your hand, that iPhone? But it's also become normal for us to lose millions and millions of kids in the United States of America, the greatest country on earth, that have fallen through the cracks. It's time that we demand a different way. It's time that we demand results. So what's the moral of the story? It's easy. If you expect the place where you eat a burger to be rated, reviewed, poked, and prodded, to have a plan for success, then why don't we expect the same for the organizations that are our safety nets, our springboards, and our safe places where we're sending our most vulnerable populations? That's the moral of the story. So you might be asking me, what can I do? Maybe that's the problem of nonprofits and philanthropies. I've got 3 ideas for you, but I want to let you know that you're not off the hook. 80% of giving in this country comes from you, from individuals, and you have a lot of power. So what are things that all of us can do? 1, don't donate another dollar. Don't donate another dollar to an organization that can't actually tell you how it's having impact. Not just how many people we served or isolated to stories of success, how many kids went to college, stayed in college, how many got jobs, kept jobs. Don't be fooled. Demand more. Demand the same that you would for your 401k account. 2, we've got to invest in this work. In fairness to nonprofits, one of the biggest reasons they don't do this is because it's expensive. It takes a different type of talent, it takes a lot more money, and oftentimes we want to fund our cute little program or the gala, and we don't want to give them build money they need to do this kind of work. We also don't need to give them the money they need to do R&D. In the private sector, 28% of budgets are spent on research and development trying to find the next winning product. Why don't we spend the same money trying to find the next winning solution for communities? And the third thing that you can do, and this might be the hardest, is know when to walk away. I've been in philanthropy for a while, and this is a struggle. We don't have the same market forces in the nonprofit sector that, like sales and users, that encourage dollars that are no longer needed to go away or to an ineffective solution. So sometimes, when things have been poked and prodded and they no longer work, we're going to have to say no more money. 2, if we're in the philanthropy sector, we're going to have to push for mergers or acquisitions to build stronger organization instead of the behemoths and masses of ineffective ones that are out there. Or 3, we should put our money on the winners. And that's what I think that we have to do. And you know what? When we do that, some nonprofits might shut their doors. Some might go away. I think they need to, some of them, and that might sound harsh, but you know what? Maybe we put an end to this ridiculous Hunger Games that we've created where we've got nonprofits fighting each other for the scarce dollars that aren't growing. Some might say this is too hard. Some might say we're doing the best we can. Some might say we don't have enough time. They're right. But I'll tell you, there are literally thousands of children that are facing the barrel of a gun, and they can't wait. There are millions that are out of jobs, out of hope and opportunity, and they can't wait. Dr. King got it right. Tomorrow is today. There is such a thing as being too late, and there must be a fierce urgency of now that animates our actions, our passions, and our intentions to demand results and to ensure that America remains the land of hope and opportunity for all. Thank you. God bless you.